Booktube, it's Janet, and today I'm going to tell you about my reading week. I've had a week off work, so I've had a really good reading week and it's made a lot of progress in my shelf slam. I've actually read 5 books this week, which is great for me. This is like a massive amount of books to read in a week. I've got another 4 books to read to achieve my 12 books for January. I may have to get a couple of graphic novels in there just to make my total up, but I am really going to try and get my whole TBR read. But if I don't, I will read some graphic novels, because 12 books off that TBR is going to make a dent if I can get that done every single month. So the first book I want to tell you about that I read this week is The Perks of Being a Wallflower by Stephen Chbosky. And obviously the theme this month was hyped books, and this is a book that I know everybody seems to have read, and a lot of people love it. I have to say that I wasn't one of those. For one, the main character, Charlie, I didn't think was a wallflower at all, because he seemed to be quite popular among his friends. He went to dances and parties, he took drugs, he drank alcohol, he drove. So for me, he wasn't remotely a wallflower at all. He had sexual encounters, he had girlfriends, which is like not what a wallflower does at all. So for that, it sort of got on my nerves. Another, yes, it has got themes of mental illness and LGBT themes, but God, I didn't like any of the characters, and they all just cry all the time. It's like Charlie is crying all the time, and it's like, for God's sake, just get a grip of yourself. I understand people can be emotional and people can cry, but he cries at everything all the time. It's like, for God's sake. So I just turned right against him. Yeah, it was only a 2-star read for me. Sorry if I know those of you who love it, if I've offended you, but it was really crap. Sorry. The next one I read is another hyped book that is regarded as a classic, and that was Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury. This has been banned quite a lot by schools and institutions, which in itself is a bit of an oxymoron, because the book is about censorship through banning books, because it's deemed to be giving people ideas, and through ideas people become happy. So the firemen in this dystopian place, it's somewhere in America, instead of saving houses and things that burn down, go in and burn houses that are deemed to have found to have books in them. And Fahrenheit 451 is apparently the temperature where paper and books burn. I think it was okay. It was an interesting read, but I think there was a little bit of style over substance, really. It's sort of like Ray Bradbury's trying to make a point about what was going on, and particularly as it was written in the time of the McCarthy era in America. So I can see where he was coming from about censorship and all of that, communism and freedom of speech and un-Americanisms. But I think that sort of got in the way of the narrative, really. So again, yeah, it was worth a read. I'm glad I've read it, but I didn't love it. The next one I read is I Capture the Castle by Dodie Smith, which has got a beautiful cover. I know a lot of people have read this and absolutely love it, and I have to say I completely agree with them. I found it enchanting. That's the only word I can say to sum it up. It follows the Mortmain family, who live in the ruin of a castle that's attached to a country estate, and it's all written through the eyes of Cassandra, who's the younger daughter in the family who's writing her journals, and her father is sort of a writer who's got writer's block. Her stepmother is an artist model who's very floaty, very artistic, very ethereal, and it's just all about the family, and then how they are absolutely poverty stricken. They really are struggling financially, because the father, who was regarded as a great writer because of one great work he did, has just had writer's block for years. And then things change when the main house on the estate is inherited by an American branch of the family that had lived there, and there's some romance and lots of tea and it's just lovely. Really enjoyed it, fabulous book, and yeah, recommend it. Really glad I read that one. I can understand why everybody loves it. The next one I read was A Clockwork Orange by Anthony Burgess, and this is one of the oddest books I've ever read. It's not actually written in plain English. It's written in, I think it's called Nadsat, which is a type of slang that Anthony Burgess invented based on sort of Russian and Slavic words. So the first page I was reading it and I'm like, I haven't got a clue what's going on here. But I thought, no, persevere, persevere. And as you read it, you do start to understand what the words are meaning and what he's trying to get across. I actually think that they serve a good purpose because it is an incredibly violent book in parts. So it makes it a little bit more tolerable because the real words for things aren't used, but you obviously know what's going on. I mean, there are scenes of gang rape, there are murder, there are beatings, and basically it follows Alex, who's a 15-year-old teenager, again a dystopian novel, and he has a gang which he calls his droogs, which are his friends, and they like to do a bit of ultra violence, which is basically they go to the milk bar and they have milk that is spiked, hence the milk on that, and that's what they drink, but the milk has got drugs in it, and they get high, they go out and they complete acts of violence. The story moves on, and it's all sort of about a commentary on psychology and behavioural conditioning, the likes of Skinner and Pavlov, where eventually Alex's bad deeds catch up with him and he's put in prison, but he's given the choice of a 2 weeks programme of conditioning to make him good, or the rest of your life in jail. So obviously he takes the 2 weeks of conditioning, and the result is that anything he thinks about to do with violence in his previous life, he becomes violently ill and really in pain. The side effect of that is Alex actually loves classical music, in particular Beethoven's Ninth Symphony, and they play that music as they're showing images to condition him, and so he cannot enjoy music when he's deemed to be cured. And so it's in 3 acts. So the first act is the violent acts, the second act is the prison experience, and the third act is when he's released. And it's all about free will and choice, and if you are choosing to be violent, at least it's your choice, but if you're conditioned to be good, it's not you. They've taken away the essence of your personality. So I have to say I did end up giving it 5 stars. It's not an enjoyable read, but just for the things that it made me think about. It was one of them books when you put it down you can't stop thinking about it, and it did stick with me really. So yeah, I do recommend it, but it's not a nice book, but it's, I think, interesting, important. I did actually watch the film after I read the book, which I didn't actually like. I didn't feel, I think at the time it was quite controversial, but I think by modern standards it didn't seem to be that controversial at all to me. It was no way more violent than, say, Game of Thrones. I just don't think it did it that well, really. I think it changed bits in the book that I felt were quite important to the story, so yeah, it left me a bit cold, the film, but obviously, as always, the book is always better than the film. So, the other book I read this week was Anita Bruckner, Hotel de Lac, and this won the Man Booker Prize in 1984, and I absolutely loved this book. I saw some reviews on Goodreads that were quite condemning of it, where they were saying like there's pages and pages of descriptions of meals and that, but what I love about it is it's just, if you love people watching, then you will love this book. It follows the story of Edith, who is, she writes romantic fiction under a pseudonym, and you know that she's sort of been sent to the Hotel du Lac, which is on the banks of a lake in Switzerland, because she's been exiled because of something that's happened, and it sort of drip feeds you as you go along what actually has happened, that she's in disgrace with all her friends, and it's just the characters that are in this hotel that's really at the end of season, and all the fact digging up their backstories, and all about the joys of spinsterhood, I have to say, where Edith is sort of given some choices to either stay on her own and make her own way and do what she wants to do, or to accept marriage, even if it's a loveless marriage, but it's deemed to be, you will have a more high regarded standing in society, you will be able to achieve more, you will be seen as, you know, belonging if you're married. And I just loved it. I just absolutely loved it. It is languid, it is lyrical, it is slow paced but beautifully written. The characterizations of people are absolutely brilliant, and yeah, I just really enjoyed it. I thoroughly recommend it. And the next book I'm going to show you is what I'm about to start reading today, and this was recommended to me by Aoife from Fred Weasley Died Laughing, and I have seen it around quite a lot, and this is A Place Called Winter by Patrick Gale. So this is the next book on my hyped reading challenge for January. I think it's something to do with the Second World War, so I'm going to start that today, and I will let you know what I think of it in my next wrap up. So let me know what you think of what I've read this week, if you've read any of them, and your opinions on them. Do you agree with me? Do you not agree with me? Let's have a debate. So let's have a chat in the comments. Keep reading. I will see you all soon. Bye!